Mark Masser, does that ring a bell? Now, there isn't like a reason that you should know who he is, but Massery. Mark Massery. Is that what I said? Mark Massery just hung the phone up on me. I did not appreciate that. Now, I am trying to find out, and I'm just going to give you guys a quick update, but I'm trying to find out who the first ever world champion from the United States was. The way the story's told, it was Rick Sanders. But that story is being disputed. That story is being disputed by a wrestler named Fred Fozzard, but also by the peers of both Rick Sanders and Fred Fozzard, the peers that were actually at the World Championships in 1969 and say, hey, listen, Fred was done first. Fred is the first ever world champion. This story has not been told correctly. So I've been investigating this, and I've been able to uncover what I'm fairly confident is everything. I'm fairly confident that I do have all the needed information. There's been a number of interviews. I've got on airplanes. I've flown out. I just got back from Iowa. Just for example, I've conducted face-to-face interviews. I went face-to-face with Coach Marlon Braun. I went on the telephone with Steve Morris and on down. I am very confident that I have the accurate information. And I'm very confident that that information is that Fred Fozzard, in fact, was the first ever world champion. Not only that, I believe he was the first ever world champion by a full 24 hours. I believe that Fred was completed wrestling one full day before Rick. So it wouldn't even be close. And if I could just have the dates, if I could just provide for you the dates that the World Championship was contested, that would be very easy to close the book on this. I can't. I've talked to people that were there, and they remember it both ways. I've talked to leaders of wrestling, and they remember it both ways. I've talked to our national governing body and the biggest media source we have, of course I'm talking about USAW and Flow Wrestling. Neither have documentation of the actual dates this event was contested. I have found media and articles from back in 1969, all of which make it sound as though it was contested the exact same day, which we believe to not be true, which is what we're attempting to disprove anyway. Now, so Mark Massery, people keep telling me, you got to go to this Mark Massery. This is the guy. This is the guy, and he would know. And I don't really know why. Now, Mark was very good. He's a very talented guy. And I think was competing at that time. I think, because he was like an NCAA champion at just 1973. This guy was very skilled and good, which is a little bit of what maybe hurt my feelings when I called him and he hung up on me. Like, there's a brotherhood with wrestling, and if one wrestler called, you listen. If I needed a place to stay or a meal, I should have been able to call him. That's the fraternity that we have. I can't even ask him a question without him hanging up on me. I mean, I got to tell you, I didn't like that. But I talked to Leroy Smith. Leroy Smith, this is a terrible story, is the highest ranking member that I was able to talk to on this case. He is the sitting executive director of the National Hall of Fame. And Coach Smith says, yeah, Chael, I think I have that. He says, you do have it right. Fozzard was first. Fozzard was first by a whole day. And I said, Coach, I have to be able to prove it. I have to have proof that I can show to Rich Bender and that I can show to Mark Floriani, that I can show to Bryant, that I can take to William Boshamania. Like, I can cover. I can get a hold of Ryan Warner. I mean, I can get Gary Abbott. I can cover wrestling in a day. I have to be able to prove it. Leroy says, I understand. He said, I got a lot of memorabilia downstairs, and I'm gonna try to find it. I'll get back to you. I hear back from Leroy. Now, I have to thank Casey Strand for this. This was all, Casey was the mediator to me and Leroy. Leroy's house burned down, so Leroy doesn't have any of the files. And I don't know what that's an expression for, but I thought it was an expression. You know, my house burned down. I don't have the paperwork. My house burned down. I thought it was an expression. No, there was a fire. It knocked out 200 homes. Coach was one of them. Coach Leroy Smith, it actually burned down. This is terrible. This is terribly sad. But I thought it was an expression. So, whatever memorabilia that he thought that he had that might tie in the 1969 World Championships is gone. This is from the executive director of the National Hall of Fame, so this is a very hard thing to get to the bottom of. And I am very confident that I do have it right. And I am confident that it was Fred. And I'm confident that Fred went first. I can't take that to Rich Bender. I would be wasting time telling Rich what I think. And I got there based on hearsay. I got to talk to somebody that would actually know. And I'm told that Mark Massery was that guy. And Mark Massery hung the phone up on me. So the investigation continues. I'm merely giving you an update. I will not back down. I will not be silenced. I will not be bought off. I will follow the facts of this case wherever they take me. Justice would prevail, and nobody is above Chael's law.